Hello and welcome to the BeeRPad. What's going on, guys? Hope everyone is getting in the festive mood.
And look, you're in red. I'm in red.
Yes.
That's a really worrying Manchester United red, by the way.
I kind of consider it's a polo, so I think of Tiger Woods. I don't know.
Okay,
I'll
I'm not
go with
sure
that.
that's much better, to be honest with you.
Ah.
I mean, hey,
Yeah, he's had a naughty midlife, hasn't he?
he has indeed. He has indeed. He's a randy old goat, but a very rich randy old goat. So.
Yes, yes. So how's everything going, Marcus?
Okay, it's really bizarre week. It's so strange with Christmas being this Monday, so Christmas Eve is obviously on the
Yeah.
Sunday. And it's just, I don't like it when it's the beginning of the week. Middle of the week, then everybody has a 5 days of like Christmas because they have Wednesday and they take Thursday, Friday off. Or
Right.
obviously in most civilized countries, you actually have that week off anyway, no matter how
Right.
long it is. But this is, we're obviously in a third world country.
Or if you're Spain, you take a month off.
And more power. Viva España. That's what I say. Viva fucking España. So, yes, it's very strange. My wife has, my darling wife, Shauna, has spent the afternoon wrapping all her gifts.
Oh.
And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? We've been together 18 and a half years. This is our 18th Christmas together. And she has never had the gifts ready to go under the tree before Christmas Eve. Neither have I. And now she was like, oh, I want to start putting these. I'm like, don't mess with tradition. You've wrapped them. Well done. Now put them away somewhere safe. I don't want to see them out. I don't want to spend, almost 5 and a bit days wondering what's in there. So let's not do that this year. So, yeah, she's, she walked in with this huge pile of goodies, which is obviously exciting, assuming they're for me, unless the dog's about to get really lucky. But yeah, I've got all my gifts. They're literally under that. So they're still in their packaging. I haven't wrapped anything, and I will tomorrow after I get my Christmas haircut. So I'm sorry, this is the old Marcus you're seeing now. Marcus tomorrow is going to get scalped.
I'm going to bombard you with a few Christmas questions.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 5 with halves, how would you rate your Christmas wrapping skills?
I'm a solid 3.5.
Yeah, I'm a 1.
Yeah, I mean, my wife obviously is like most women in my life is an absolute ninja when it comes to wrapping. I am to Christmas wrapping what Vanilla Ice is to regular wrapping.
Oh, damn!
In that case, I'm moderate. I have the occasional number one hit,
Right?
But then it's for every Ice baby.
You have Go Turtle, Go Ninja, Go
Ninja, Go Ninja, Go, or play that funky music, white boy. Which
I've given up on wrapping paper. I've decided it is very wasteful. So I'm taking those recyclable shopping bags, putting the gifts on there, and kind of wrapping the whole thing up with a ribbon.
Well, what I tend to do, and what I used to do really, really well, was I'd go to Target, and Target is no way sponsoring this show, although they should. And I buy those little gift boxes, and then I write Shauna's name on them, and then I put the gift inside with some tissue paper. And then once she's unwrapped it, I save the fucking thing for next year. So I've been recycling these things for half a decade, but we lost so much stuff earlier in the year when we had a rainstorm, and a lot of our stuff got flooded out. So I have no boxes. So I'm going to have to wrap with paper, or I'm going to have to hit Target tomorrow morning and pray to God that nothing's gone. So anyway, yes. All right, Bombard, is that the only Christmas question?
No, I have 2 more.
Okay.
Which day should you have the big celebration? Christmas Eve or Christmas Day?
Christmas Day. That's the day after Santa's been. You can. So we exchange. We have dinner. We normally have tamales. It's been a tradition for Shauna's family for a very long time. So we have them, and I love them. With a little glass of something, and then we'll exchange a book. That's a very European thing, Scandinavian, in fact. And we exchange a book, and we just sit around, read a book for a little bit, and then we'll go to bed. And then the next morning we have a nice little breakfast early, and we unwrap some gifts, and then we do the stockings after that, and then we stagger out dinner. We normally do the appetizer about noon, the main course about 3, and pudding around 7. Normally, if we're not expecting company, which I don't think we are this year, without getting out of our Christmas PJs. So
Yeah, I was raised Catholic, so Christmas Eve was the thing. Have a bunch of people over. Everyone that was still awake would go to midnight mass, but as I became older and more agnostic, I don't care. I'm sorry. I just rather see friends and family.
Yeah, friends and family, absolutely. Although I'm getting less about that even now. I am a big fan of Santa, and is just be naughty or be nice. If you're naughty, you don't get anything. If you're nice, you get some good stuff. But yeah, the religion aspect, I had it rammed down my throat as a teenager in particular. And no, it wasn't Roman Catholics ramming it down my throat. But yeah, I am so over the religious aspect because, and again, I'm not atheist. I think there is some sort of power in the universe, but I just don't like the way organized religion causes more pain than joy. And I know
agree more.
It's a lot of people off, and I think they're all culpable. Every single organized religion is fucking culpable.
And last question: what is the centerpiece of your Christmas meal this year?
Well, we start off. I mean, we go full British. So start off with a prawn cocktail with my mum's Mary Rose sauce. And then for mains, it's roast turkey, 2 kinds of stuffing, sausage meat, and sage and onion. There'll be sprouts. There'll be roast potatoes. There'll be roast parsnips. There'll be some carrots. Shauna makes the most amazing gravy and cranberry sauce. And then we wrap it up with for me, I get a Christmas pudding.
Right.
Get a nice little brandy custard going. Or rather Shauna does for me. And sometimes a slice of Christmas cake before supper. And then that's it. Then the next day it's turkey curry, where almost all the leftovers will go into this huge vat of turkey curry. And we've got some close friends coming over, and some neighbors, and that's it. We're going to do turkey curries. That have been a British tradition for a long time. So that's how we roll Christmas. What about you? What's your Christmas? Because you're going to be at your brother's, I believe. Yeah.
I'm starting here, then driving down to close to your neck of the woods the day after Christmas. But for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I am planning to smoke a prime rib. It has been ordered.
Nice.
Hopefully no disasters come between now and when I pick it up Saturday. I haven't used my smoker in a while, and I feel bad because it's one of my favorite appliances that I've ever purchased. So it'll be nice to bust that out again. And smoked meats are always good.
Although when you said you were planning to smoke, I was expecting to say a or a fat blunt. I'm like, hey, the boy's gonna Christmas like it's the most awesome thing ever. So, but yeah, I mean, smoked meats are amazing. But yeah, I have to roast the turkey. We don't smoke it. We don't. One year we tried to deep fry it, and it went well. But my darling wife had packed it to make it more of a sort of like Louisiana style fried turkey.
Yeah.
And she'd gone a little overboard with the spices, and it was the first turkey I haven't been able to eat at Christmas, and I was so upset. But so now we go full British. Christmas crackers, the little hats, Christmas crackers how you put on the hats. This year I will have the Doctor Who Christmas special on at 5 to 10 in the morning. So as we're unwrapping presents, I'm going to stop and I'm going to watch Ncuti Gatwa's full debut on Disney Plus. Very excited for that, because that's also a British tradition to have the Doctor Who Christmas special. And with our previous showrunner, we didn't even get that because he was a lazy bastard. So yeah, I mean, Christmas should be good. I mean, it's, again, as I said before, it's going to be incredibly bittersweet. It's the first one without my mum.
Right.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking to my sisters. My stepdad's going to be at my sister's place and with the kids for a couple of days. So hopefully he enjoys that. I'll get them all on video call. Um, but yeah, it's already been a strange month.
Right.
And I've not been handling it very well, to be honest with you. And I will say, if you're experiencing grief in any way, shape, or form, find somebody to talk to, because I've been going through this now for about 3-4 months, and it's not fun. It really isn't. I really need to find somebody like a professional, but I really recommend just finding somebody, especially this time of year. I mean, and if you need to reach out to somebody, reach out to us via the Facebook page. I'm unfortunately not on Twitter anymore. I've just locked down that account and walked away from it. But I am on Instagram and I am on Threads as Annoyed Gamer. So feel free if you need somebody to talk to. I check in there periodically. So please reach out, because this is not a fun time to be just have these thoughts in your head.
Yes. So this is the portion of the BeeRPad where we shared some of our personal lives and Christmas traditions. If you want to share what your Christmas plans are, I'd love to hear them. All our socials are up there. Marcus just listed his socials as well. Drop us a line. But,
yeah, sorry to go a little bit more than that, but I mean, there is a reason that a lot of people hate the holiday season. And
yeah,
if there's somebody you need to talk to, please reach out.
Completely talking about today, Marcus.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Raymundo, because this will surprise people. We're doing a list.
And checking it twice.
A top 5 list of what, Ray? What are we doing our top 5 list of?
The best television shows of 2023. It's the end of the year.
Twingo bingo. It is the end of the year, and we're not going to do a show next week. And we're going to continue this into the new year with we're going to do top 5 games. Did we do top 5 movies yet? We haven't done top 5 movies. So we'll do that as well.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap up listicles for at least probably.
Yeah, we'll put a break on that for a bit. Yeah.
We'll actually start talking about more topical stuff, because I know Ray and I have a wealth of experience and opinions about the games industry in particular, and I know that's where a lot of you know us from. And I think next year we are going to be talking more. Because I mean, for example, the Game Awards just happened, and I feel that's something worth talking about. How they did or didn't handle things, and that's something we can talk about further down the line.
Yes,
the state of the industry in general with the layoffs, what we're excited for in 2024, because there's going to be some amazing titles coming out. Are we going to play more games in 2024? Because I mean, there've been a couple of beauties that came out of nowhere. Are we going to get PR people to send us codes? Just saying.
Yeah.
So yes, but now we have a banging list.
Yes.
And Ray, would you like to go first this time? Because I went first last week.
Yes, and also because I did the graphics in that order anyway. So,
oh my God, we do communicate before the show, but yeah. So Ray, tell me, what is your number 5 number 5 show of 2023?
It is Heels Season 2. Now, this is a show that a lot of people are not familiar with, because it is a streaming show on Stars.
With the legend that is Stephen Amell.
Yes, with Stephen Amell from Arrow fame.
Yes, indeed. Is his brother in this one too? Robbie?
No, Robbie is not in it, but his character brother is one of the dudes from Vikings. I don't know if you watch that show. Chris Bauer plays one of the supporting characters. He's been in everything pretty much, and he was tremendous. But it's about this family. Stephen Amell plays the main character and promoter of a very small wrestling organization in a fictitious town in Georgia. So he has challenges, keeping his staff happy, keeping the wrestlers happy, running a small business, while also doing a day job of selling lawnmowers and keeping his family life intact. His brother is the other lead, and he is like the star of the wrestling division, but he is arrogant and doesn't really care about wrestling, but he is more physically talented and more charismatic than his brother, who has the smarts. the setup in season 1 is that they inherited this wrestling federation after their father, who was the previous owner and star, shot himself in the head. And we go into this back and forth. Even though wrestling's a backdrop, it's really a family drama. There are some humorous moments. And for me, Chris Bauer was the star of the show in season 2. He plays this older wrestler, like in his early 60s or something, named Wild Bill. And in season 1, he's just like this loud, arrogant guy that went up north, which is code for working for WWE. He was a big star, but he's kind of washed up now. In season 2, you learned why he is the way he is. And it's because Jack's father, that's Stephen Amell's character, screwed him over when they were younger. They were wrestling together. He basically put a block on his career and stole his girl. and
Wow.
And it's affected him ever since. And then before the father committed suicide, he was asked to look after his sons. So it just frames his whole thing. He is still loud and arrogant and stupid, but a lot of that is a front because he's really a caring and sensitive guy. And he really loves wrestling, and he loves this small, shitty division in Duffy, Georgia, which doesn't exist. But the show got canceled. Some people are trying to resuscitate it, but it's a really fun, surprisingly deep show. A lot of it is because of Chris Bauer's character and performance. I was shocked at how different it was acting wise from season 1. It was just a really, really great cast. Here's the graphic now. We see Arrow. Chris Bauer is the guy in the cowboy hat. That's Wild Bill. But yeah, it's just a bunch of really cool characters and very interesting wrestling dramedy, which is not something you hear often. So
no, I'm not surprised this is obviously one of your favorite picks, because I know you're really looking forward to the Iron Claw that's coming out this Christmas. That's a movie. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know anything about the family behind it, and I actually read an article today.
Depressing as shit.
Well, yeah. And so I don't think it's going to be one of my Christmas movies, but I'll certainly catch it later down the line when it comes to digital. But I know you've got, you're a huge wrestling fan. Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I think I just missed that the take, when wrestling took off in the UK. We had our own version when I was a kid that used to be on like Saturday lunchtimes. And it was like the scaled down version of WWE. I mean, probably very similar to the type of thing they had in Heels.
Didn't they use rounds in British wrestling?
Yeah. It was, yeah. And it was more on the background as I was playing. When I say a kid, I'm like 7 or 8 years old. And then by the time WWE, or WWF as it was originally, came over, I was off drinking and
right,
enjoying my life like any other 14-year-old. So I missed I missed out on all that. I've never really been able to get into it, but I mean, it's awesome that you have this thing that you've had your entire life, and it's still kicking through. So
yeah, and one of my dreams as a kid was to go to WrestleMania. And through the video game industry, I got to go to like 6 or 7 of them. So that was a tremendous thing for me. So I thank God for the wrestling industry, or Zeus, Odin, one of those guys.
Skyfinger.
Yes. Now, you called an audible on your next pick.
I had to call an audible because I had an old man moment, and I did have something in at number 5. And then I sat down and I looked over to the side here, and I was like, hang on a second. So this book was just sitting right here.
Uh-huh.
And as you can see, that's the audible. So apologies to people who, to the people who made the show The Rig that debuted on Amazon earlier this year that I kind of really liked, that was set on an oil rig and very supernaturally. And woo, but it's been usurped by the incredibly charismatic Alan Ritchson and the crew from Reacher, which dropped season 2, the beginning, last Friday. 3 episodes dropped on Amazon, followed on the season 1 that came out like 2 years ago, and season 3 is already filming. They announced the renewal It's already filming and it'll be out next year, which is great. I can understand why Amazon want to, lock down this particular character. So there's a whole bunch of books. Now, if you haven't seen Reacher season 1, please do. Don't be put off by the somewhat mediocre Tom Cruise movies. Look, the first one, Jack Reacher, was actually not too bad. Never Go Back, which was the second one, was really quite dull. But this is more like Jack Reacher from the book. I mean, he's got the physical, he's the physical specimen that Lee Childs, mentions in the book. And like I said, Alan Richardson is very charismatic. They've got a great supporting cast for both seasons. Season 1 was based on The Killing Floor, the book I just held up. And I'm not going to spoil it because if you haven't seen it, you really should. You can binge it in probably a couple of days. You're just doing two shows a night. Really good, action-packed. And this is the thing. He's been compared to like Batman without the gadgets. He is a very, very... he's a decent bloke. He has the code of conduct. He's ex-military. He was a military investigator. He's the sort of person, this character is the sort of person we should all aspire to be. I mean, he's not the stereotypical military, proto-fascist, you have to be. No, it's somebody who lives and let lives. The Reacher character travels the US with no more than $200 in his pocket, and his toothbrush and his passport. And sometimes he sleeps on park benches, sometimes he hitches, sometimes he eats in diners, sometimes he shares meals with people. And he's basically spent his entire life, because his dad was in the military, and then he spent his entire life in the military to the age of perhaps mid-30s. And then he decided he wanted out and to see the world and experience life. So it's almost very similar to the unfortunately very racist show Kung Fu from the 70s. With David Carradine and that whole drifter, going from town to town. And this season...
Originally written for Bruce Lee until the white man stole it from him.
Well, because that's what white men do. So this season starts off where members of Reacher's squad, his special investigation unit that he was part of, he actually founded, start dying. And they're being targeted for some reason. And they, I just don't want to give it away, but I mean, there's a great ensemble cast, lots of action, and it is worth it that one of the bad guys is, and you can tell he's a bad guy from the minute he comes on screen, is the old T-1000 himself, Robert Patrick, Mr. Mimetic Polyalloy. And there is a line, and I'm going to give this line away because you're going to have to listen to it because it's just chuckly as fuck. He's talking to one of his cohorts, one of his little minions who are off, doing naughty shit, and they're following Reacher and somebody else who check into a hotel. And the guy gives Robert Patrick's character the names of the two, the names that they've used, the pseudonyms to check into the hotel. And Reacher's checked in under one name, and then his female companion has checked in under the name Sarah Connor. And literally, I don't give a fuck about Sarah Connor. That's what he says. And it's just so funny. But yeah, it's well written. It's action packed. Great. It shows the first season kind of shows off small town rural life. I mean, it's almost like one of those 80s Patrick Swayze movies where, like Roadhouse-esque.
Right.
But it's just so much fun. And I thoroughly recommend it. The wife, when I said, can we watch an episode? She's like, okay. And then it's like, she'll watch another one. Okay. And then she'll watch the third one. Okay. Fuck, we're out of episodes. Bah! So, yeah, she was sucked in too. So Reacher is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the best show on Amazon right now. And that's been borne out by the fact that it's doing really, really well. So, yeah, number 5. And it's only at number 5 right now because I haven't seen the whole series.
Right.
But, yeah, Reacher.
So, question about the way you describe Reacher. He seems almost like a squeaky clean, super good, really kind fellow. Is that correct?
Look, he's done stuff in the past. I mean, he's ex-military guy. He's killed
right.
But he's killed people It's not something he seems to like doing, but he's got a code of ethics, a code of
Right.
morals. And if you're an asshole and you try to kill him, he's probably going to kill you. Or if
Right.
you,
Right.
I mean, it's kind of summed up in one of the first scenes of season 2, where he's in a thrift store and he goes in, he buys new clothes because they've all been laundered, donates his old clothes, walks out in the new clothes, and he has to go to the ATM across from the store, and he's standing behind this woman who's obviously, she's got a black eye, she's shaking, and she's trying to pull money out, and she's trying to pull $500 increments, and he can see that she's visibly upset, and he looks up the street and he sees her minivan just parked right on the junction, and he says, "Don't turn around. Are you being carjacked?" And the woman nods, and he's like, "Okay, well, don't look at me. Just stay there. Pretend to keep on getting the money out. I will be right back." And so he literally walks up, and you can see this guy sitting in the minivan and yelling at her kid who's in the back seat. And as Reach is walking up, and you see him through the window, through the driver's side window, because they frame the driver, and you just see him coming, and his jacket's off, and he's wrapping it around his fist. Doesn't take a break. And this is a guy who's like 6'3", 240 pounds of solid muscle. Punches through the windshield, beats the living crap out of this guy, takes his gun away, tosses it in the passenger seat, knocks this guy unconscious, tells the mother to call the police, rescues the little kid in the backseat, calms him down, and then walks off. And she's like, "Where are you going?" "Thank you." He's like, "I just don't want to be involved." So that's the sort of guy he is.
Right.
So doesn't like seeing
Innocents suffer.
shit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and these and this is where I'm saying it's aspirational in a way, in that he's the sort of person you'd wish you could be.
Right. No, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm familiar with Alan Ritchson from Titans,
Yep.
where he played Hawk, and from Fast 10, where he plays an arrogant prick. So I'm trying to picture him as a more positive character.
He's way better than his character in Fast 10. I mean, in Fast 10, he barely got a character.
Yeah.
But yes, watch season 1 of Reacher, my friend.
I will.
I guarantee you'll just plow through it.
Sounds good.
So what's your number 4? Did you call an audible, or we still on?
We're still on I changed my order, but I am going with Reservation Dogs season 3, the third and final season of this excellent Hulu show. Now, this show was created by Sterling Harjo. He is involved in most of the episodes. I believe Taika Waititi is an executive producer, and it's about a group of teenagers that live on a Native American reservation, which is a setting that I know next to nothing about. And learning about, what their lives are like. Being a teen is hard enough. Being a Native American teen on a reservation, there are all sorts of complications from that. So it was cool that Sterling gave us this view into Native American life. And the kids are just, they have the typical teenage dreams and hopes and the typical teenage problems. And they're just written so wonderfully, and the performances are so good. But I really appreciate this glimpse into the Native American world. It's not something that I've seen on TV before. A few movies, of course, but it's just a very unique and authentic look. One of my coworkers grew up on a reservation, so I asked him about certain scenes, like, "Hey, is it really like this? Did this happen?" And he did grow up on a reservation, and he did have a Korean doctor that was randomly assigned to the reservation. And yeah, a lot of the stuff they go through, how they hang out, how they played, how they interacted with outsiders, were things that, he tells me it was like that for me. So it was cool. I really appreciate this look. And they originally wanted to do a season 4, but I don't know exactly why that didn't happen. But I really love the seasons that we did get. It's kind of like a less fantastic but more authentic Stranger Things, because I just think of like a group of kids having adventures together. Although there's not all that crazy shit happening here. Although there is some mystical shaman stuff, so I don't know.
Hey,
that could
I like
be cool.
my shamans mystical.
Yes. Not enough
A
peace pipe.
non-mythical shaman is just somebody who's not trying.
Yes. So I recommend this show. It's a unique story and great characters.
I've seen a lot of positive stuff about this. I just haven't got around to watching it. I mean, it's funny, especially in the last several months. I've been more sort of like things that I know will bring me comfort,
Right.
which is why I've gone back to reruns or continuations of existing series that I've already watched. But yes, I hear really good things about this show, and I'm sure at some point I will watch it and go, "Oh, why the fuck didn't we get season 4?"
Yeah. No, I highly recommend it. And I could totally identify with how all these series that you meant to watch just keep piling up. And then
Yeah,
all of a sudden you have this tremendous backlog.
absolutely. It's insane.
Now, your next pick, I believe, goes into the realm of video games. What you
It
got?
does. It does. And it's not Reservation Dogs.
It's
It's
not.
The Last of Us. It's the the long-awaited HBO adaptation of The Last of Us that hit earlier this year with the internet's daddy, Pedro Pascal,
Yes.
and the always awesome Bella Ramsey, who was in Game of Thrones,
Yes.
and who I would not want to fuck with at all, because the lady, they, I think it's a they. They're
Yes.
badass. I think they are a they. Is a badass. Sorry, don't mean to misgender. So
Totally
yeah,
fierce.
I mean, it is based on the game. They take some liberties. It is without a doubt the best video game adaptation for a TV series. Admittedly, there's not many of those, but it's certainly better than Halo. Which was, as a lot of people would have said, was pretty poor. This one, great cast, great. The episodes in particular range for are just, some of them are really cool, and some of them, like the Nick Offerman, Offerman episode, just so unexpected and so beautiful. Tugs at the heartstrings. Don't want to spoil it. I mean, even though it is an old game, we know that season 2 is coming. I think they're starting work early in the new year, and we'll get it perhaps in early 25. But yeah, it's just a great show. It's again very timely, following on the back of the pandemic. Where you got the cordyceps, the mushrooms that are turning people into zombies, which we've seen can actually happen. And that was the one thing that made me sort of like chuckle and wince every time people were talking about this and they were trying to explain it to the non-gaming people. They would reel out a scientist who would say, well, cordyceps could actually happen. It does happen. There's an insect version that could jump to humanity. Like, fuck. Not after COVID, but yes, brilliant. I don't want to, there's no need to go through much of the story, other than huge plague, cordyceps, people are zombies or mushroom zombies. The clickers are terrifying. If you thought they were terrifying on the PS3 or the PS4 or the PS5, then they're a whole new level of terrifying now. The cast is absolutely stellar. I mean, Anna Torv is in it for a minute, and everybody should know her from the wonderful Fringe that came out about a decade or so ago. And yeah, I mean, the production value is great. Neil Druckmann was involved in every aspect, which is always good. And the highest compliment I can pay is that if Amazon's Fallout series is 1/4 as good as The Last of Us, then we are in for a banging early 2024. Thoroughly recommend it. Go watch it. Awards will no doubt follow.
Excellent. Yes, I'm also a big fan of the game and the series, and of course, these two wonderful, wonderful actors.
And of course, they didn't have to cancel the multiplayer in the TV series.
Now, moving from that's an HBO Max show, let's go to the land of Netflix, where my number 3 pick is beef. Not only is it one of my favorite foods, it is one of my favorite shows of 2023.
And there was no cows harmed in the making of this show whatsoever.
At least that were filmed. I don't know what was on the outtakes, but this is a very interesting show created by Lee Sung-jin, who was born in Korea, and it has an interesting mix of Korean sensibilities. Like so many of their TV shows and movies are about revenge. You know, if you look at stuff like Old Boy, for example, the original one, not the stupid American one. And a lot of shocking moments that are surprising, but he also blends it with American style characterization and production techniques. The leads are Ali Wong and Stephen Yun, and they both play identifiable normal characters that are basically good people but also very flawed. And both of their flaws, which are different, they stem from childhood trauma, and it shows how it affected their lives up to now. And even though they're good people, they just have this one bad moment. And we've all been there when we're angry or annoyed, but they take this one moment and just lean into it and get into this situation where it all spirals. So it's kind of like, you know, what happened if I acted on the worst of my impulses? So it kind of spirals from that. So I love the writing, love the performances of the leads. Supporting cast is great too. One of my favorite comedians and podcasters, Andrew Santino, is in it. He plays one of Isaac's minions, and David Cho is in it, who I think is one of the most fascinating people ever. He came to fame as an artist, and he did some work for Facebook, but asked to be paid in stock. And this was, you know, before Facebook really blew up. So he became wealthy from doing a few murals at Facebook. He went on to do some podcasting, acting. He was in a few bands, and he's just totally one of those weirdo LA actor creative people. And now he can do whatever the hell he wants.
But can he though? I mean, if memory serves, he is the individual who's accused of some very egregious comments on the podcast
yes,
a while back. So obviously, I don't want to. I'm not going to pick holes in your show. And can I just say that? I mean, Stephen Yeun, we know he's an outstanding actor.
Yes.
Obviously, he voices Invincible, which is a beloved show for both of us. But can I just give a shout out to Ali Wong? Ali Wong, more famous for her stand-up.
Right.
The first time I saw her act in anything was Always Be My Maybe.
Right.
Which is a glorious little love story. And it's one of my favorite Netflix films. But to see her in this, I mean, she is just, whoa. I mean, the performance she delivers.
I had no idea she was that good. Did you? Like,
all I can say about that performance is that it's so cringeworthy in the best way. Yeah. I mean, it makes me shudder. And you're right. It's how that one wrong decision or that one base, you know, it's like one thing where I'm gonna go down this route, and it just leads to a cascade, a waterfall of shit. And it's almost like a disaster movie. It's like the train wreck where, you know, Absolutely. You've got the popcorn, it's in slow motion, you can see what's coming, and it's just quite incredible. How they're going to top it if there is a season 2 is quite bizarre. I think they probably have to change characters up. And
originally he wrote 3 seasons where it was a different pair of people each season with a different beat.
See that working. Yeah, I could see that working.
But he says he wants to stick with these 2 characters because he fell in love with them, and people seem to love them. And obviously the actors are great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because, I mean, True Detective was one where the first season was absolutely amazing. And then following series with different pairings haven't actually worked at all, to be honest with you. They've not been good at all. So, yeah, I could see him wanting perhaps that safety zone. But it'll be interesting to see how he expands the story then, and if he has to retool the ones he's written for this admittedly stellar cast.
Well, let's hope he gets more. I'd love to see him do more. Now, let us go to your next pick, Marcus.
And I am indeed on the Netflix tip with the return for the 6th season of one of the shows that made the network, as far as I'm concerned, from the incredibly talented and funny and scarily intelligent Charlie Booker, who used to be a video game journalist.
Aha.
Yes, he did. Charlie Brooker he used to work at Dennis Publishing in the UK, and he wrote for PC Zone. Um, very, very sharp guy. Very sharp guy. I only met him once or twice at various industry parties, but yes, I mean, never really got to talk to him too much. But yeah, such an incredible wit, and he'd done a bunch of stuff in the UK before, which Black Mirror was obviously a UK first production. And so season 6. Oh my God, what a banger of a series. I mean, sometimes you expect like 2 or 3, maybe, half the season to be good, the other half to be filler. But I'm just looking at this list and being reminded how good it is. I mean, we see how Salma Hayek there from the first episode, which is Joan is Awful. And it's literally our worst nightmare in that she clicked on the terms and conditions, and her entire life becomes a show. And as it's happening, and it's just a terrifying way this shit is gonna go, and it's just layer upon layer upon layer, and then we go to the total change of pace. Then, I mean, because that's Salma Hayek. And then we go to Loch Henry, which is the second one, which is a couple who travel to a very quiet little Scottish town. And then they find out about this infamous murder that and tragedy that happened years before. And they start investigating it for their podcast, and shit goes south. And then probably the best one of the lot is Beyond the Sea, which is about 2 men in deep space, and they have these facsimiles, we don't know if they're androids or whatever, copies of themselves on Earth, and to stop them going crazy in space, they can log in while in space to these bodies, and they look and feel just like them, and they get to do things. They be with their family, and it is a really great cast on that one. And it's just what happens when shit goes south. Somebody gets a little crazy. There's shades of The Shining in there. Not from the supernatural aspect, but just from the all work and no play make Jack go. So yeah, that one's really incredible. And then the final one of the lot, number 5, is Demon 79, and it's basically this. It's a what would you do? And it's this young lady who's a sales assistant in the north of England in 1979. She's a person of color, and let's face it, Britain in the 70s, not a good place to be for people of color, nor was it in the 80s to the 90s to a certain degree, and in some places still not. But she basically has this demon who's telling her that she has to do these things or people will die. And she starts to commit these murders and these other things, and it's just another excellent season from Charlie Brooker and his crew. So yeah, Black Mirror, chef's kiss. You can see so many. I mean, if you rewatch all 6 seasons from the beginning, you see so many parallels with what's happened to the world since. With social media, with xenophobia and populism in particular. Yeah, you just watch it, and there's some of the episodes that are just shining moments of TV. So yes, I thoroughly recommend if you've never watched Black Mirror, start from the beginning. If you have and you haven't seen season 6 yet, I would definitely say Beyond the Sea and Loch Henry are 2 to watch.
Excellent. Now moving on from Netflix to Disney Plus, my penultimate pick is Ahsoka season 1. Now, I'm coming into this as a tremendous fan of Clone Wars and especially Star Wars Rebels. Ahsoka is probably my favorite new Star Wars characters since the original trilogy.
You love her.
I do, but not as much as I love Rebels, which is my favorite Star Wars, pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Since the original trilogy. So seeing these characters in live action was just tremendous for me. Seeing Sabine and Ezra when they're reunited. That was probably my happiest moment of television all year. I mean, just so much went into it. Then, like, oh, they finally found him, and he's on this planet of weird snail people kind of deal.
You
And
can smell the Disney plushies,
yes,
being manufactured at that moment.
they are toys for sure. But yeah, I mean, even though the show is called Ahsoka, in my head, it's really Star Wars Rebels season 5. And that's why I loved it, because I love Rebels so much. So seeing these characters, they also had Grand Admiral Thrawn, Chopper, who is my favorite murder death robot in all of science fiction. Seeing Hera, who's also tremendous and has the most powerful Star Wars couple, because in real life she's married to Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor. Yeah, the show just worked for me on so many levels, and the flashback stuff was tremendous. Seeing them recreate Clone Wars battles with a very young, well, kind of digitally re-aged Anakin Skywalker, who was played by Hayden Christensen, of course. And they made a young Ahsoka, who was played by the young actor with the most nerd cred in the world, because she also played young Gamora. She was in the Barbie movie. So I don't know. It almost seems like her career has to go downhill from here. I don't know where you go after Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Barbie, and but I hope she has a wonderful career. But yeah, Ahsoka was just such a big thing for me, and I absolutely loved it. There's definitely problems with it. Didn't bother me, but I see how it bothered some people. And
yeah, we had the discussion, and look, I'm so happy that you got your Ahsoka.
Yeah,
I just think that the problems were perhaps more glaring for me. And as I've said before, I was a late convert to Rebels. I did it after you told me to watch it, and I love Rebels so much. I've recently started rewatching it. Because it's such an excellent,
so good.
I mean, I honestly wish that Disney Plus would just let you stream the entire season without having to skip those the annoying interstitials that are credits and everything. Just put all the credits at the beginning and the end. But yeah, it was so great to see live action versions of these. I still think Thrawn was underused. And I felt he could have been more of a visible threat. It was lovely to see everybody. Chopper, of course, the second best Autobot in Star Wars universe after HK-47. But we won't argue about that. I was so glad to see it out. I really enjoyed it. Didn't come as close to Star Wars enjoyment for me as Andor did, and certainly wasn't in the same zip code as Rebels. And I've actually read an interesting piece this week about Freddie Prinze Jr., who played Kanan in Rebels, and he said that there is no chance of him revisiting the character in live action, even as a flashback or a Force Ghost, which is a shame. I understand, I respect that though, because and spoiler alert, Kanan dies, but when he does die, it's what, they killed him. It's brutal. It's brutal. Not brutal graphically, just brutal on the soul.
It's powerful. Powerful moment.
Yes, but he was happy he made us cry because he's a bastard.
Yes.
But he's married to Buffy, so
Did you know he wrote for WWE for a while, Freddie Prinze?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he worked out of Stanford and tried to write for them, but then he realized how dysfunctional it is over there that he left. He's like, I don't need this shit.
Well, he's had a pretty good career ever since.
Yes. Now your next pick, I will save a joke about it for the end, but it is a show that so many of my friends love.
Yes, and it is indeed Succession, the final season. And so here's the funny thing. I never watched the first 3 seasons of Succession.
Oh, wow.
I started watching, I mean, Shauna watched it religiously, and I'd so like step in and out on a Sunday night. She'd be watching it. I'd be playing games, and I'd hear some things, and I got the general gist of things. And then I decided to sit down and watch the season 4 premiere with her. and I watched it all the way through, and it is without a doubt one of the best seasons of television that has ever been produced, in my opinion. It's obviously a thinly disguised piss take of the Murdoch scum. Some might call them clan, but I would not. I mean, unless you're saying clan with a K, none of these people have any redeeming. Or actually, yeah, none of them have any redeeming features whatsoever. They are privileged. They are immoral. They are corrupt. They are selfish, self-serving scumbags across the board, and it's delicious to watch. They all get a comeuppance in some way or another during this season. If you've watched the first three and you've obviously watched this one and you've enjoyed it, it is gripping television. Brian Cox, absolute fucking legend. I mean, he owns this show so hard, and despite the likes of Sarah Snook and Kieran Culkin as his kids, yeah, I mean, and even when he's not in an episode, his presence is felt. He casts a long shadow. So yeah, Succession. I actually did go back and watch the first three after watching season 4, but I hadn't watched it until.
Right.
So yeah, watch Succession and then hate the Murdochs even more because they're immoral, self-serving, selfish, scum. All of them. And here's hoping they all share the same pathetic fate sooner rather than later.
So there's this movie I saw this year named Joyride, which is kind of like an Asian American Bridesmaids kind of deal.
Love that show. Love that movie.
And two of them were arguing about whether one of them is a Twinkie, like yellow on the outside, one on the inside. And the other character's like, "You're so white. Who's your favorite character from Succession?" And she blurts it out right away. Like, see?
Yeah. I mean, this is if you root for any of these fuckers, you're the sort of person who roots for the Empire of Star Wars.
Right.
I mean, that's it. You root for Sauron in the Lord of the Rings. You think the orcs are the bomb. I mean, yeah, you really need to go see a psychiatrist. These people are scum, and unfortunately, we have these people in real life. And eat the rich.
Now, my top pick is the total opposite of that direction. Not these evil bastards here, but I'm going with these wonderful folks here. Ted Lasso, season 3, the last and final season, or at least with Ted in it, of AFC Richmond. And this is one of my favorite shows ever. It's just so positive and uplifting. It has great humor, but also some nerdy references. There's musical elements to it. But overall, it has so much heart. It's just such a wonderful show. Almost all of the characters grow and progress. And you were talking earlier about Reacher being an aspirational character. You can pick most of the cast here and be like, "Hey, I want to grow like, Jamie Tart did." Or
nobody has grown like Jamie Tart.
That's true.
Jamie Tart grows like somebody put 3 magic beans up his ass the night before, and the next day he's a fucking beanstalk.
Or even Roy Kent, who has gotten over some of his anger issues.
A good woman will do that.
Yeah, Ted has gotten over his trauma that stemmed from his father's suicide and his divorce, obviously. So
we got to meet Mama Lasso this year.
Yes. And all the characters, all the scenes. And I said this in an earlier episode. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I always watch an episode of this show every week, and I just pick it at random. And no matter what, I know that 30 to 40 minutes later, I will be in a better mood because it makes me smile, makes me laugh, and it gives you warm fuzzies. And not many shows ever in my lifetime did it. There are a lot of people that complained about season 3 and how it ended, but I had no problem with it. I loved
Of
how
course you did. Manchester City won the fucking title.
I loved how everything wrapped up for everyone except for uh Ted's their couples count. There's couples therapists who ended up taking Ted's wife. I wish he got a bit of a comeuppance there because
I'm
that's
sure. Well, I think he was kind of inferred towards the end. I mean, he was out especially when they were watching that last match
yeah.
together.
But
And he was like literally sitting there with his finger up his ass. And I mean, I think that's when the realization that he wasn't the right person for her.
I think he
Did.
deserved more than like something bad should have had. Although that's not very Lasso-ish to think.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily a bad guy, but I mean, yes, he certainly did.
He slept
He
with
was
a patient.
He did. Well, I mean, if you're not a medical doctor, is that still? I mean, he's not. I mean, let's face it, he's probably not even a proper doctor. I mean, he's a marriage counselor. I mean, he probably with somebody who got a certificate online or something. But anyway, he's an inconsequential character. He was a foil for a while. He was there for an episode and a half in total, and he was gone. And I gotta say, I'm glad you picked this because it freed up a slot or two on mine.
I believe psychiatrists do have to go to med school, but not psychologists, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, if you are a psychiatrist or a psychologist, please write in. Let us know.
I do know that psychiatrists can prescribe drugs, so they're the better ones.
Yeah, it's Ted. I mean, Ted Lasso's just been a joy. The fact that we had, it arrived when we needed it the most.
Yes,
and then to have that gap between season 1 and season 2. Yeah, I just was it season 2 and season 3.
That had the longest.
That's right. Yes, yeah, that was the longest gap. But yeah, it was great. It is a show that's going to be sorely missed. Maybe we'll see the Richmond Way pick up. So before I get to my number one, I want to ask you: is there anything that came close to your list, honorable mention that you?
Yeah, the new Scott Pilgrim on Netflix. That I was pretty close to putting it there, but. I love the comics, love the movie, and I
love the movie too.
Love the series a lot, but not as much as the movie. And I think that's my favorite of all the properties because it had the characters and the writing that I love from the comics, but the music just really added a whole new layer to it. And if you look at that cast now, it's kind of ridiculous, and that they got all of them back to do
fucking Avengers or Superman.
Yeah, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Superman / Adam, and they got everyone back for the animated series. Which, I mean, it's easier than live action, of course, to get people to do that, but still, that was impressive. Yeah, Scott Pilgrim. What is it, Carlos? Reloaded. But yeah, it's that was pretty close. And the other series that I've been binging is actually not from this year, but it's because we recently lost Andre Braugher, so I've been watching like Brooklyn Nine-Nine in the background, and that Raymond Holt is such a fantastic character. I love that character so much. Great show too. How about you? What were your honorable mentions?
I have 2. The first one is actually running right now, and it is Monarch on Apple, which is the Godzilla kaiju backgrounder on the company that behind the Godzilla movies, the Monarch fictional company that we've seen. And I got to say, the VFX are absolutely outstanding, and it is one of the best and most enjoyable shows that's out there right now. And then the other one, and I'm surprised this didn't make your list, is Invincible season 2.
Yeah, see, for
whisper close, but I know you obviously there's a Stephen Young limit. We can only pick one show.
Not for me. For both of those shows, in my head, I don't count them as this year because they're not done yet and they won't be done till next year. So I kind of want to see how it plays out.
I think because I've picked it, like Reacher, I've picked these. Yeah, that's the quality of their first series, first season. I think, in particular with Reacher and with Invincible, but I mean how strong the sort of like the first half of season 2 has been.
Right.
And Monarch has just been gripping television every week.
Which is weird because the movies aren't very good.
No, I mean the first movie was great. The first Godzilla
Really?
movie that they did with Gareth Edwards really was a great movie as far as I'm concerned. And this sets that up, and the cast is great because let's face it, you can't go wrong with Kurt Russell. And then you got Wyatt Russell, who's his kid, who is obviously a U.S. agent in the MCU, and you just see. I mean, they literally at some points they do these transitions where the old morphs into the young or vice versa, or the scene cut. And you can just see, especially when the kid smiles, he looks like he's dead. So yes, those are my two, and I would thoroughly recommend people watching them. And now to my number.
Wait, I thought of one more. So sorry.
Okay.
Doom Patrol, which had its final season this year. And I just love how weird and wacky it was. And not a lot of people were talking about this last season, which is a shame because I thought it was very good. But they had a great run, those weird and wacky creatures.
I watched the season. I didn't watch the end of it. I haven't watched since. Same with Titans, unfortunately.
Yeah. Titans, you didn't miss much.
Yeah.
Now, your number one pick should come as no surprise to anyone that knows you. What do you got?
It's this guy who lives in a blue box, travels the universe, and after a disastrous 4-year run at the hands of Christopher I'm a Twat Chibnall, Russell T Davies took over Doctor Who for the 60th anniversary and delivered 3 absolutely banging specials on consecutive Saturdays. We had the Star Beast with the awesomely named The Meep as the bad guy. We had the Blue Yonder as the second episode, which was a tour de force for Catherine Tate and David Tennant because they were literally acting opposite themselves. And then one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, period, and certainly one of my favorites since the 50th anniversary 10 years ago, was the final episode, which is The Giggle, with Neil Patrick Harris dropping an amazing scene-chewing, show-stealing turn as the celestial toy maker. He murders accents. He is, I mean, the celestial toy maker is this character that debuted 50 plus years ago. They actually lost the episodes, and the BBC has actually been redoing the missing episodes because they've had the audio track and they've just been animating them. So the entire season will be re-released, and it's like half animation, half live action. And so it's this character who is he's very much like Q from Star Trek. So he's got this very low opinion of humans. He's anything else. In fact, he's overtly racist. So much so in the original form, played by Michael Gough, who played Alfred in the first 3 Batman movies. He is wearing almost like a Mandarin-esque outfit, which was obviously very, very racist for a white English guy to be doing that. And they carry on this where Neil Patrick Harris is doing this really sort of like heavy German accent and still finds time to be racist to somebody of a slightly different color. He also does a musical number to the Spice Girls' Spice Up Your Life. And that is just an absolute showstopper. And then, of course, we have David Tennant, not Neil Tennant, he's Pet Shop Boys, David Tennant and Catherine Tate bouncing off each other, being fantastic. And then we get this canon-altering section called the Bi-Generation. The Doctor regenerates normally. He dies, he regenerates, and a new person goes off in a new body. This time, he didn't regenerate. We were all coming up to the point. There was a spot where David Tennant was, he'd been shot with a laser beam. And we think, oh fuck, this is it. He starts to regenerate. The colors start happening. The mystical clouds. His theme tune is playing. I'm getting all weepy, and he bi-generates. He basically splits in 2, and we are introduced to the first Black Doctor, long overdue. The first Black Doctor in Ncuti Gatwa, who people will know from. There we go. Upcoming episode, who they will know from Sex Education and the Barbie movie this year, who plays the 15th Doctor. and he already has become a firm favorite. He obviously is about 10, 15 years younger, maybe even more than David Tennant. Yet he is the older Doctor because he comes later in the timeline. And he's just got this maturity, yet this fun about him, and it's basically bodes so well for the next season, that starts next year, and we're going to have a Christmas special on Disney Plus first thing Christmas morning, our time, 5 to 6 UK time in the evening. But he's got this. The Doctor's long been a character who's been tortured by his past and the people he didn't save and the companions he's lost. And the 15th Doctor says, "You are running on empty," says this to David Tennant's Doctor. "You're running on empty. We're doing rehab out of sync." And basically he says that the Doctor I am now is the mended Doctor, because what you're about to do is you're going to live and you're going to have your rehab, because you're going to live and you're going to experience things, and you're going to stay on Earth for a while with Catherine Tate's character, Donna Noble, and her family, and heal yourself. And so this new Doctor, come December the 25th, will be a new lease on the show, a more vibrant, joyous in a lot of ways, way more wise, because the character is now over 1 billion years old, thanks to a couple of things that happened in Peter Capaldi's run several years ago. And so, the Church on Ruby Road is the Christmas special. Next season, there are a bunch of really cool guest stars. Disney Plus have been co-financing the show, and you could really tell because in the giggle, Avengers Tower makes its debut, but it's the unit tower. Tony Stark will be pissed, but yeah, it's just great. I mean, it really has. It just. I need a good Doctor Who in my life. I need a good, enjoyable Doctor Who, because it's a balm for my soul on my darkest days. Because this is the first positive male role model I had in my life. Because when I was much younger, it was just me and my mom. My biological dad fucked off when I was 2. My uncles at the time were very unreliable. They had their own issues. And so it was me and my mum. And I had this positive role model who'd come on the TV every Saturday at 5:30. And he wouldn't try to kill people. He wouldn't use a gun. He'd try and talk. He'd use his imagination, he'd use his intelligence. He would debate moral quandaries. The Doctor was talking about environmental issues 40 odd years ago. There's a show called The Green Death, a season called like 6 episodes called The Green Death. That's about industrial pollution. He talks about gender pronouns 40 plus years ago. He talks about various religious issues, politics again. And this is all covered over the years. And now with Russell T Davies, who is one of the best writers that Britain's ever produced. He did Queer as Folk. He did It's a Sin. He's done a bunch of amazing stuff. He can combine politics and comedy, and he can mess with canon, and he can carry it off because he casts so well. He writes so well. His directors are brilliant. And now he has the money to back it up. So 2024 is going to be the year of the Whoniverse, because that's the thing that the BBC are launching, and we will see more Doctor Who shows, and we will see more shows that are spin-offs of Doctor Who, like Unit, which is basically like S.H.I.E.L.D., but in the Doctor Who universe. So yes, I've rewatched The Giggle so many times, and Neil Patrick Harris was just amazing. I recommend watching all 3 if you haven't watched them before. They're all on Disney Plus in glorious 4K with awesome surround sound. It's finally amazing and wonderful to see Doctor Who get the treatment that I've hoped that he would get, or they would get. So yes, sorry I rambled on there for a very long time.
No, it's great hearing it.
Look behind me over this shoulder, you see all this Doctor Who stuff right here. I've got umpteen TARDISes, I've got sonic screwdrivers, I've got characters. I mean, if you look at my Christmas tree, I've got so much Doctor Who stuff on there as well. It's such a huge important. That is my wrestling. That is my WWE. That's the best I can say. And so I prattled on. We've gone over. My apologies.
No, all good. That is a wrap for our favorite TV shows of 2023. Please share yours in the comments section. Now, really quickly, let's go over some comments. Carlos wants to know if you're drinking at 14.
14 and a half, 15. Look, Britain, the legal drinking age is 18. And it's obviously frowned on. I mean, I wasn't going out and getting paralytic, but you'd have a little can of something here and there. But I mean, especially once you get to 17, you think nothing of going out and getting into a club or whatever. And having a drink and not getting totally expanded. And I think that's why perhaps Britain doesn't have the same binge drinking problem that perhaps the US does, because any country that says you can go and die while defending us and you can't have a drink if you make it home because you're under 21, that's a problem. And it just encourages binge drinking, and it's a ridiculous law as far as I'm concerned. So yes, having a few at 14, 15, quite common. I don't have a huge drinking problem. In fact, I rarely drink now at all, to be honest with you.
Maria has a question. I believe this one is for me. Odin or ODB? Now, it depends which ODB. If you're talking about wrestling ODB, that is a no. If you're talking about hip hop ODB, that becomes a more compelling question.
Wu-Tang, baby.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang is life.
I'd still have to go with Odin because I'm scared of lightning. Batman without gadgets. Isn't that the Punisher?
Yeah, it's the Punisher. But I mean, honestly, I think Reacher would give the Punisher a run for his money. It's just Punisher Frank Castle has so many fucking guns and everything. Reacher so often doesn't have guns. I mean, he'll pick one up and shoot one if he has to, but I mean, he uses his words, then he uses his fists.
And I would argue that the Punisher he has a great tactical mind, but he's not nearly the detective that Batman is.
Plus, Batman doesn't kill.
That's a pretty big difference between those two, for sure. If you want more native content, then check out Fry Bread, Face, and Me on Netflix. Okay, that is an interesting one. But I pretty much talk to you every day, Carlos, so I have all the native content I could stand. Just kidding. They find Ezra. They finally find him only to not come back with him. But yes, that sets up more seasons. And this one is for you. So rooting for the hot redhead was wrong?
Hang on, what?
I think that's a succession question.
Oh, right. Okay, Sarah Snook. Okay, you can root for whoever you want, but I mean, let's face it, she is just as bad as her brothers. I mean, they're all assholes. And the funny thing is that she has to bend the knee to Tom at the end, which is just so funny. So funny. But yes, Sarah Snook is a very attractive lady and a very talented actor.
This one, I'm not sure what the context was. He should have gotten hit by a double-decker trolley.
Okay, there's a double-decker trolley doesn't exist in the UK, hasn't existed in probably about 50 years. So much double-decker bus, and I think we're talking about The Marriage Therapist and Ted Lasso.
Okay.
I love this game called Guess What Carlos is Typing About.
The Scott Pilgrim animated series takes off. So yes, thank you for adding that. And lastly, Marcus had Doctor Who, and I had Carlos's Doctor Who was Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, I mean, look, Randy in Britain means something totally different, by the way.
That's true.
Somebody exceptionally horny. So I'm glad you had your horny Macho Man. I mean, and I worry about your wife at times, but hey.
Hopefully
a viable lifestyle choice nowadays.
Hopefully he didn't force you to eat so many Slim Jims, because that stuff's nasty. So
we didn't have Slim Jims in the UK.
Oh, good, because
we had Pop Noodle.
Okay. So that will wrap it up. This is our final show of 2023. We will be back in January, where our best of 2023 continues. Should we do movies or games?
Who knows? We'll do both at some point. But
yes.
I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy holidays.
Yeah.
Just finished celebrating Hanukkah. If you celebrate Kwanzaa, if you celebrate the more Festivus type of period, or if you are having Christmas Have a baller holiday season. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve. Stay safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And here's hoping we all have a much better 2024, because I think we're all due one.
Happy Christmas. Happy New Year, everyone. Take care for now.